Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to what I hope is it came from the Workbench 44. I know what I'm working on. I just sometimes can't remember what numbers go with the thing that I'm working on. As per usual, very much in the spirit of working in the Canyon, you join us already in progress because I mentioned that the Kuwu, not to be confused with the RC Huiwao, though very similar, there are differences. And in the build that we're working on right now, there are certainly differences. This has definitely transcended past assembly, and we're into build territory because I've had to start to make things. Okay, so this is 44. This is this guy who's going to have the Corvair on him. He's just about to the step where we're going to pull him out of the layout jig. These used to be all over the place on Amazon. They're a little harder to find on Amazon now. They're pretty much still all over like AliExpress and whatnot. It's acrylic. It's got the pins. What are the pins for? The pins are super handy, honestly, because when you set your thing up, you can check how's my wheelbase looking. Because while we are building this from a quote-unquote kit, at the very least a chassis kit, we are building it to fit this body. This body has a 313 millimeter wheelbase, which means we need to fit a 313 millimeter wheelbase. The easy way to get your wheelbase to fit is not the way that we did it today. The easy way is build your front end and then just put the rear links in to fit. We built this backwards, so we assembled the rear end and put those links on, and then we built the front end because Zombie, who is the RC Huiwao, a very similar configuration. If we look at the JC Chazé, towers are in the exact same spaces, same spend, but Zombie has this really low down. This is the RC Huiwao. Like, all these holes are the same. All these holes have the same little crinkle. But this, we've got a big hole in the tower, small hole in the tower, no hole in the tower, big. I am told that they are like a version 1, version 2 thing. This is the older one. This is the newer one. This also uses TRX4 style body mounts. This uses regular Axle style body mounts. A lot of similarities, a lot of differences. The bumper on that guy is this with the sliders, and if you use another pipe you can stop it from sliding back and forth. So that's how that bumper is done. This guy's bumper is a huge, like, rrr. This is the vertical piece. That part bolts to the chassis like that. But I mean, I'm guessing if you're running like a creep cab or something, that is definitely not going to work with this, because as it sits on the wheelbase right there, it would be inside the body. We will figure something out, but that is something for later. Now, Zombie, we took the easy way out because we had an adapter on hand, and we threw an SOA bracket and a tiny little outrunner. Bish bosh Bob's your uncle. That goes right on. This guy, we thought to ourselves, no, instead let's do CMS because their CMS mounting with the laydown and everything, pretty clever. I like the sandwich of the CMS bolting the panhard mount on. Now, you will already notice a couple of things. One, the panhard that we're using is not optimized. Whenever I see threads showing, we know we didn't pick the length specifically that we wanted. We picked the length that fit. I need a link that is basically 5. I need a high clearance link, a bent link like that I probably should just make, because I need one 5 millimeters longer than this one. And I don't have that. Because this is the giveaway guy, we're giving this guy away, and it was never my intention to outrunner it from the beginning. We're fitting it with a 540. Most of these chassis, most of these gearboxes, most of this everything is not done with a 540 in mind. So a 540 sticks way too far forward off the gearbox, so we have to fabricate ourselves. We just get ourselves some 4 millimeter and we do a little wiggly bend. You'll notice a sharp bend and a curve bend. you would think, oh, well, he's not very good at it. Well, A, I'm not, but B, it kind of needed to be that way. We had to go to a 10 Pro end on here because otherwise it was rubbing. Mounting it to the inside required a bend so steep. I don't have anything that I can clamp that in to get a bend that steep. So we go to the outside of the chassis. It's miraculously not interfering with the shock, even at full droop. I don't understand it. The included links did not work. They did not work. This, the drag link, is one of the lower links that was included with the links that came with the kit. Do you remember how we had to make these guys much longer? Well, I had to make these guys shorter. So this, despite them being the same thing, despite them being around the same wheelbase, this guy is about 10 millimeters more skid forward. I believe the links that it includes, they're looking for about a 324 wheelbase and not a 313. And I needed a 313. So these are the links from that. These are the drive shafts from that, because the included front, this guy, once we shortened the front end 10 millimeters, this was too long. This might fit on that guy. I don't know yet. We're going to find out. The most amazingnesses of this is some forethought was done on their part in that they just riddle the sides of the rails with holes so that you can, I mean, yes, they are about 10 millimeter jumps, but you've got a spacer if you need to space your servo. We did indeed space it out, because if you will draw your attention to right under there, these are very close to parallel. And the more parallel they are, the better. They're also very close to parallel this way, which is often more difficult to do. We're on the higher spot. This might not be the optimal horn, but we've gotten pretty close to parallel. This guy, eye to eye, that would be the drag link, is 76.5 millimeters. The Panhard bar, eye to eye, is 80.5 millimeters. 4 millimeters off? You know what? I'll take it. We could actually, if the splines deal us a good hand. Now let's see if we can turn this. Yeah, that's as far as it goes in the sweep. So what you do for this is you set your Panhard is 80.5. This Panhard is 80.5. Optimally, what you do is you take your drag link, you set it to 80.5, clock your horn when you get it centered, clock that over, and then just use sub trim to get it to where the steering is centered. That way, 80.5, 80.5. We have the tiniest, I mean, the amount of axle sway is nearly non-existent. I would say between 1 and 2 millimeters of the axle swinging this way. And that would mostly be because of that 4 millimeter differential. If we get that down to nothing, also, I mean, it doesn't help to have a bent Panhard. It doesn't help to have a crinkly front upper. But it is truly surprising. Nothing is binding. Nothing is hitting. We get full. This is why I had to go to a high clearance. A straight one would hit right about there, and I would rather have the clearance. If it means we have a little tiny bit of axle sway at the in exchange for full suspension travel all around, nothing hits anywhere. He's pretty smooth. So I'm astounded at where we ended up from just a rough throw together of the front end. And because the skid is so far forward and the front end is so, we had to make the compromise. That's about as steep of a drive shaft angle as you would want, but that's at full droop, which is not a situation you're going to be applying a lot of power on. When we're compressed that way, that's an excellent drive shaft angle. When we're compressed that way, that's an excellent drive shaft angle. When we're right there, we're good. We've got that little hang below. I don't like that, but we're fine. So you could limit it. You could put a strap on it and limit it. Look at, see, very close to parallel on those two links. Surprising, because I eyeballed that Z-bend and just slapped it on. And if you watch the compression, like, look at the shock angle. It doesn't really change. It's moving a tiny bit. And we can check for bump steer, which is get this in place. It helps to have it screwed on, but you go. This is legitimately how we check for bump steer around here. You go like this, and if you have bump steer, every time you do it, it will go brr, 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 or it will go brr, 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 depending on which direction they're pushing on. But again, as surprising as anything to anyone, the front end kind of sorted itself out. That's a lower. This is one of the lowers from any of the Skidford, like Injora chassis, the one with the crinkly front end. That's one of the fronts from that, which I almost never use. I have a whole box of them. And then, as I said, these came from the RC Hui. Wow. So changes, yes, we had to fabricate a front upper, and we had to fabricate a front upper because we're not running like a 3625 Outrunner in there. If we were, that link would have bolted on no problem, because that motor would end like there on the R in Injora, and we wouldn't have all that stuff going forward. So that's an accommodation to get a 540 in there, but I don't have a problem with doing that kind of accommodation to get a 540 in there. These are grays. These are element grays. Definitely too stiff in the rear. It feels either close or a little undersprung in the front, which is kind of crazy. We've got a little bit of more weight to put on. I am most likely, I'm pivoting around. There we go. I am most likely just going to affix this guy right over chair. We'll hang out right over chair. We will put the battery, again, we'll just slap a piece of Velcro on there. We'll do it that way. Then that'll come over just like that. And receiver, right there, that little open spot. We'll put the switch on the back of the receiver right there. We'll see how this fits. I kind of like it like that. Kind of like it like that. Keeps the wires tucked in there a little tighter. This is unquestionably, everyone, this is a Canyon economy build. I get a lot of questions about the Canyon economy build, like, what can I get for X amount of dollars? Those are $56 axles. This is a $139 chassis kit, which we have had to tweak a little bit because of this. Because of this. If you're buying this just to build, you will be able to run your front links. You won't have to fabricate a Z-link. You won't have to do any of that stuff. These are TRX4 clones. As I said, $56. They fit great, implying to me that whatever this chassis is a clone of may have indeed been designed for TRX4 chassis rails, because getting that front end to line up like that on the first try kind of staggered me a little bit. And we have a superb rear pinion angle. So everything about it is going, this is made for TRX4 axles. $139 for the chassis, and the chassis is all inclusive with, I think they want this mounted, I mean, we could put the battery tray way up there. I'm not even going to use that tray. I'm not going to use the bumper. I'm going to have a bunch of leftover pieces on this, but $139 and $56 is $195. That is a $15 motor and a $40 speed control. So that is 57. So we're at like $250. That's a $30 servo. We're at $280. We need wheels and okay, so let's say you put a cab on it that's $20. You're $300. You need a radio, wheels, and tires. What is the cheapest? Oh, it's comp pins. It's comp pins. You put Injora S4 comp pins with silicones in them, or just regular foams, depending on what. This guy might be lead enough for the regular foams. And then you throw a radio on it, and legit, you are sub 400 RTR. And I have this suspicion, and the suspicion is based loosely off of this guy, that what we're going to get is pretty good. There's nothing hyper exotic on here either, just his power plant would cost more. He doesn't need to have a yellow jacket. It could have any Rhino. It could have a Flash Hobby. You know, it could have whatever. So this is the way you do it. Ordinarily, we talk about a $500 price point for an RTR that's reasonably outfitted. This can sub that a little bit, because I would probably spend a little more on the servo. We'll see how 35 does. We'll see how 35 does. There's so many options out there now for us that aren't. Oh man, it's too bad that the walls on these are so thick, because I would love Class 1 pins on here. Like just take a moment, if you will. Those aren't very tight. Let's see if we can get them to stay in place long enough. I basically just need to get stuff centered, get the electronics situated. No, we're gonna have to get wheel nuts. I thought we could work our way around it and just slap them on, but that is not the case. Oh, it is a shame. One of my biggest, I'll call it a disappointment on the year, is how thick they made the carcass on the Class 1 S4 pin. We have a number of Class 1 tires around here. Not a huge number, but we've got a number. And I think a Class 1 is perfect for the Corvair / Morvair body. So with those in place, I mean, right? Like, that would be so good. We need some Class 1s. When this rig leaves the canyon, there's no telling. I can't tell you from right here if it will be leaving as a slider or a roller or a full-on runner. Like, it won't have a radio, but at this point and juncture, I am truly considering just leaving the electronics in it. Like, why not? I don't know. This thing also, this Corvair body is alarmingly narrow. It is 7.5 inches wide. 7.5 inches wide, everybody. Let me just grab the rest of these. These don't have a home. I'd be okay. We'll get it up off the ground. As I said, we are definitely closer to complete than not. And we will get this thing. It's really some tape and some fiddling with a radio. I gotta find a radio that's not tasked to anybody right now. I came out here this morning to get to work on this. I genuinely did not anticipate getting to where we are right now. Like, at all. I thought, that front end is going to do that thing that front ends do. Yeah, I'm afraid so. The RC 4-wheel drive, these are 155 Baja claws, and they are stretched onto 1.7 RC 4-wheel drive wheels, stock wheels from a Marlin. Why does it feel lighter with wheels on it? It doesn't make any sense at all. Yeah, the rear feels wildly oversprung. What's the next step down from gray? It's not all the way to green, is it? Now, green is 0.7. There's got to be something in between. I need a spring around a pound. I need around a 1 pound rear spring. I mean, yeah, these are all the way out of the fenders, but I definitely don't hate it. And we're gonna have the body mounted up like there, like up there. Those might be the guys. Those look pretty good. I know they're not Milestar Patagonias, but this will be our own version of that. Okay. I am going to clean up my mess a little bit, just a little clean up the mess. I am going to stick these electronics down, get the endpoints set, get things centered, and you know what? This thing's going to be ready to go. Oh, and respring that rear end for sure. because it's basically, it compresses that much. It's got like 2 millimeters of compression. Meanwhile, in the front, it doesn't settle, but I need everything stuck down, and I need body posts in it. It does not come with body posts. You're going to have to supply your own posts. I want to see how that settles down. I mean, it's sitting like that. We're super raked. So, I will see you again in just a mere, just a flicker of a moment. Mere moments, as promised. I bring to you, genuinely, well and truly, more work to get the body centered and on than work to build the entire thing. I'm not kidding. I thought it was going to need a bunch of zip ties to get all the wires tucked out of the way. I used one. There's a zip tie right there. And then the rest I just did old school coily. I did use a little wire guide from something to hold that in place. It's clean. I mean, it's clean. It's dirt. It's got shavings from the Lexan all over it. I did take the very edges off because it had a little turn down. We don't need the little turn down. The real one, the Morvair doesn't have those. Also, the tires are going to auger into those anyway. I found a set of springs that are softer than the 1.4s. I do not think that they are soft enough. I think it's still oversprung. I think it was very difficult to get the body on for a number of reasons, one of which the chassis really goes up like that. So you're putting the body on it and you're like, that's not right. Like, it looks like there's a wild angle here. Like, it's like that. And then you set a body on it and it really isn't. Like, it's level. It's level. Looking at it from down here where the camera can't get, and I'll tell you right now, the front of the rocker is 67 millimeters off the ground, and the rear of the rocker is about 69. So it's 2 millimeters higher in the rear. It looks like it's like that. I don't understand. I don't know what's happening. The foams in the 1.5 Baja Claws are mega soft, which is probably okay based on how light this is. I did end up putting, basically re-rodded the entire front end because this needed to get stretched about 3 millimeters. It's still, I mean, it looks as close to me as no sway as I can get. I wish it would settle down a little more, but it, like, if you push it down, it doesn't return. But if you just set it down, it just sits on it. We're going to see how that impacts. Like, it feels, everything feels great. It has terrible bench feel. Like, when you go, you're like, oh no, which would lead you to think it's oversprung. I don't think it is. And in the rear now, going down to these, which are, I think, 1.1s or 1.2s, they were unlabeled. That seems just about right. Had to stretch the rear end. Did that by simply just putting element rod ends onto those four. The bend is a little more than it needs. The wheelbase had come out to about 310, and the wheelbase is now 315. There's something unholy about this vehicle. Those stretched it more than that, and we're like, I said it was 313 on centers, and like, can I press? No. Can I press? It's right there. It's right there. Would the fenders require trimming? Like, if I was going to run this long term, would I trim them? Probably. But the approach and departure don't look too bad. The body sat at what I think may well be a perfect height. We'll just get into the noise because LCG with the long travel, we've definitely got some. Yeah, we're just under 5 inches in the rear, like 4.9 inches, aka between 115 and 120 millimeters. It should be plenty. Also, it is mobile. It is not particularly noisy. You do hear some RPM? That is because one of the first changes that had to be made is, here's the Enduro 35 turn. Enduro 35 turn, that gearbox, TRX4 portals, one, maybe wide open, 1.5 miles an hour. And I thought I could gear it up. We could gear up. But what I'm enjoying right now is a preponderance of mechanical advantage. So you do have to tip in, like, hold. Like this is way off the ground. It has got electronic anchor. And if we can get electronic anchor out of a G1 1080, more power to all of us. That is a 21 turn. I dug in the bins. I have nothing between a 35 and a 21. I think a 27 would probably be just about perfect. That said, I've made no adjustments to the throttle in the controller. You can see there's just a moment when we try to breach the sign. Right there. Just a little bit too zesty. A little bit too zesty. We're talking a 21 turn. For those unaware, as the turn count gets smaller and or in a brushless situation, the KV gets higher. I'm talking with my hands a lot here behind the camera. As the turn counts get lower, the wattage goes up. So a 21 turn motor is going to be like 60% more powerful than the 35 turn. So in instances when you have a lot of mechanical advantage and a lot of gearing, you can get away with running a higher turn motor, which will be more powerful, and then you're automatic. Oh, that's all stuck in the brushes. You're going to get a lot more drag brake out of it. I thought, like, look, the rear end settles what? 3-4 millimeters? Like, I mean, I guess I could stand it up straighter in the front, but it's the chassis is very confusing because the whole chassis is at an angle. Like, it's dipped all the way down. The tops of the, if we're going across the tops of those, it's basically level to the ground. It's very confusing. I'm assuming that they were just anticipating being run with a cab or something. And when you put a full fendered full body on this, the front shocks look like they're laid down too far, and the rear shocks don't look like they're laid down enough. This is one of those things where we will allow the rocks to determine. I don't want to mess with it, because for a ghost ride, for a quote unquote out of the box, I think we're at something. I think we're at something, and we're at somewhere. As it stands right now, whatever changes need to be made will be made. I have been thinking, this is a vintage slash turnbuckle with these to keep the posts like this. I am considering like tapping a hole and running a brace down to hold the body more steady. I don't know how much. I don't know if it's necessary. This amount of swaggle, I think, is probably fine. But whatever changes we need to make, we will make them. Did I mention that I changed the tie rod so that, like, TRX4 axle, right? What? Yo! Almost into the shock and under any amount of compression, right into the shock. That's a good steer angle. When you pay Amazon Blue Case money, the only thing you're sacrificing is speed. Like, it makes it on the bench and on the floor in the shop. You know, I got to check. I just drive in and out in a straight line about 15 feet long to make sure that our steering trim is correct. It genuinely feels fine. It really does. And again, we could dial in curve, but there's just a little initial surge. But for anything with TRX4 involved, that is smooth, baby. It's got a little growl to it. And when it's under load and it gets up in the RPMs, Okay, look at this back wheel. But then look at the axle. That axle's not wobbling a bit. That one's all right. That one's okay. That one's okay. What is going on with that guy? Like I said, I don't know. I don't know. This gentleman is currently blisteringly imperfect. Kind of the best way to go out on a ghost ride for the first wheel. How much closer he will be to final when he leaves the canyon for his forever home, I don't know. I don't know. But he will be going pretty much as stands now. I called him the Couvert because he's a Corvair, but he's on the Kuwu chassis. He's a Couvert. Couvert. Why does that word sound familiar? He will be going pretty much like this. No battery and no receiver, but that's all that's going to come out. It's going to go like the rest of it. Obviously, he'll get painted and finished and that, and this, that, and the whatnot. But before that, we got to put it on the rocks. I really love the look of it on the Baja Claws. Are they its forever tires? I don't know. Are they the tires that it's going to leave the canyon on? Now that is highly likely. Highly likely. Unless we find something else around here. It's just they look so much better than this. I think optimally, this should be a class 1. This should be a 4.3 or smaller on here. Because then you're going to clear the fenders because you've already got ground clearance via the portals. He's got a ridiculous amount of ground clearance. It should be absolutely great. And everything's here. Nothing back there. We will do this before we head out into the coolness. Oh, this one's not even unwrapped. We got a still wrapped one. As he sits right now, RTR with an 850, weighing him in milliliters. We'll go back to grams. 2307. That is not heavy. That is not light. Come on. That's 5 pounds. He weighs 5 pounds. This whole thing about lightweights, the experience that I went through with Rainbird, building the Rainbird here, was definitely a learning experience. This has 0 grams of added weight. The wheels are not particularly heavy. They are open cell single stage foams, which they're either going to skitter or they're going to grab like the claws that they are. 5 pounds RTR. Why are all the rigs here in the fleet so heavy? Why is it so easy to actually build something light? And that's on a 1080 with a 540 in it. If you put an Outrunner in this, it's under 5 pounds already. Just that one change, you're under 5 pounds. I don't know. The more I see it, 5.08 pounds, the more interested I am to see how it does. And we're going to see how it does right about now. I got into a mindset of now seems as good of a time as any, so ladies and gentlemen, the canyon under the lights. I'm going to say it is a lovely evening. It is a lovely evening. It could be a more beautiful evening if it wasn't still 90 degrees. But those from the desert can tell you that 90, get it, 90 with the sun down is very different than 90 with the sun up. I can also tell you this. I felt like I shuttled too far, but I guess I hadn't the first time. I think I'm cutting the steering back too quick. What I was going to get at, I got halfway to getting at it, is I can see the vehicle a lot better through my monitor than I can with my eyes. There's a lot more contrast in the monitor. It feels, I mean, it's pretty good. The 21 turn, though, I must say, on like a 9-tooth pinion, The 21 turn feels at once too much and somehow not enough. Like, the way the throttle rolls in, not when descending it feels fine. When rolling in to the ascent, I feel like there's a deadness to it. And I don't know if that's because I put the wrong battery in. I did bring the other one. We can focus at night. I brought the other one because they look identical, and I had already plugged it in and driven it out of the shop. And as I was walking out, I said, "Is that the right battery? It is late. Is that the right battery?" Just got a little cool breeze kicked up behind me, and I am most thankful for that. There we go. Look how bright that spotlight is. That's kind of the natural color. I don't know if it's the Costco LEDs, but there's a it's almost like a sepia tone. It's a real warmth here. I am most surprised of the things to be surprised by. How little we're getting in the way of angry Lexan noises. I thought for sure that at full lock we were going to get the full pirate ship. We were going to get the pow, pow, pow firing across the bow, but we're also not really getting any lifting. There, a little bit there, a little bit there. Ain't nothing wrong with a Baja Claw. I am noticing that, I mean, there are some peculiarities, and like we were getting a push to the left there, despite being full lock to the right. I don't remember. Did I swap? I did. I swapped gears in, so we're at 20% because part of me, I don't remember what happened. Well, when I filmed the indoor portion of this, I don't remember that. So I certainly don't remember what transpired in prior episodes. I wish it was a bright color, because then I could see it better. Or I could see it at all, really. It's nice and quiet. I think something mid-20s. Like probably a 27. Got our first one out of the way. Probably a 27 on a 12 tooth pinion. This is a 21 on a 9. I think 27 on a 12 would be right in the sweet spot. But we've seen enough of this golden hued goodness. Let's see where else we've got enough light to see by. Oh, there's absolutely no torque twist to this at all. In further tales of surprise, I'm surprised that the old Lakewood there isn't nearly as much of an amp. Like, it's a big box, but it's really not kicking up the sound. Probably helps that this guy isn't particularly loud. Can't tell where I'm. Okay, right there. Gonna have to use a lot more really low speed because I can't see. I can see pretty good at night. Oh, that was nice. But I have to admit, the contrast to the human eye compared to the contrast of the monitor, when I look down, here's the eye lines, So here's the rig. Now imagine right here, right where this is, that's my field view. Oh, so when I look at this right here and then look back up, yeah, I'm just blind. I've just blinded myself. So, yeah, that skid is so forward. Get that one out of the way. Okay, do I think the Baja Claw, the 155 stretched Baja Claw is the perfect tire for this? No. I still think that something class 1 is probably the jam. But it's not terrible. It's definitely workable. And I can put blame for any poor driving on the fact that it is nighttime. I thought it was cut off for just a second. There was just a cut of throttle, just a complete cut there. It is the wrong battery. Okay, so maybe that feel of torque was my brain trying to tell me something. Now, having just done it, let me tell you if it's possible to change the battery without taking the body off. No. I mean, it is. I just did it. But it would have taken less time to take the body off, put the battery in. I was trying to get a continuity cut. It's probably not going to work. Drive feels good. You are continually surprised. Those who haven't driven at night, and this is lit, but you see them now glowing in the distance, 1 watt LEDs. So there are, it's 11, it's 24. There are 264 watts of lights out here covering an area roughly, what's 120 times 120? That many square feet. 12 times 12, 14,400. So 200 and, how many did I say? I've already forgotten. Ooh, my brain doesn't work this late at night. So 264 watts for 14,000 square feet. That was absolutely solid. I hope the cameras saw that because I didn't. And I will definitely at this point say low bat was part of the problem because it feels a lot better now. Oh, that was not the right place to hang that axle. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, oh, that is the 155 Baja. The 155 Baja Claw, what an, I would classify it as an anomaly. What an anomaly. Ordinarily, we're looking at a 155 wheel, we're looking at what? 3.85s, 95 millimeters or so. These are enormous. So much sidewall. They've almost vanquished it where like Yokohama Geolander, the fucking Wild Peak, they're too thin, too soft, too willing to fold over. Mind you, this rig weighs 5 pounds. And that front tire, that low side front, could not handle any of it. This rig with this body on this chassis looks crazy when you get the view of it from the side. I'm hoping the camera picks up some of the crickets. There's a couple spots we're going to have to hit to try to see the crickets. It is a cricket apocalypse out here at night. We need either more lizards or larger lizards. Oh, did you see the snap? Did you see how quick? Did he lose a body clip? I think he lost a body clip. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I thought the body looked like it was flangling around. Yeah. So the pin, the Class 1 comp pin, would just simply not work. It's so firm. Only when we're really loading a corner are we seeing that the foam in the absurdly tall 155 Baja Claw is not working. Look at that slurve. Look at that. Look at that. 3-wheel motion across there. That is all. That is all. Oh. That land. Yeah, see, look at that upside down. It looks wild. The skid forward is doing everything it can, but those tires are smushy mushes. I don't even go so far as to apologize to whoever is, I guess, fortunate enough to win this, the couvert. You're gonna have to replace those tires, though. Okay, we need to take a small interlude here. All of this, all those dots. Then you see these guys here, down here. That's all crickets. That's all crickets. The very tip of that is all crickets. Down around my feet, all along. It's just crickets. I wish I could catch them. There's a market for crickets, right? The amount that come out of every crack, nook, and cranny of the rocks as soon as the sun goes down, and now the air is just starting to cool. It is absolutely fantabulous. The amount of crickets that come out is unimaginable. I had always wondered when a cricket would get in the house. I'd be like, where did this idiot come from? Well, now I know. And what do they do? What do crickets do? Like, they're bugs, right? But like, what do they do? These are the most, these tires are the most. They are the most. I love a Baja Claw. They've got great maneuverability. Like, how do you even find a foam for this? How do you, if you want to get these single stage out of here, which if you wanted to stay with the Baja Claws, with these particular Baja Claws, you would effectively have to. I don't know. They're like 4'6" tall, but but 30 millimeters wide. It's like they're almost along the lines of a Class 2 comp pin, but in 155, which is just, you're adding like a ½ an inch of sidewall just for no reason. And these are on 1.7s, so I mean, you know, that's 0.15 inches. That's half the stretch of a 1.9 on a 2.2, so not exactly stretched. They mounted right up to these wheels, and these wheels didn't have a home previously. They do have some maneuverability. I mean, big floppy sidewalls aside, they're Baja Claws. They're X2SS. They got a lot going for them. And, again, let's not forget, oh, that tire's just going to absolutely fold away. There's a real maneuverability to this guy. You just kind of have to wait for the servo because it is not brisk. But you know what it is? Amazingly, it's enough. As I said, blue case, everything but fast. All right, that's just points to me. Points to driver for that. And again, when you can see the skeleton, nighttime ghost ride, the ghosts come out at night. Nighttime ghost ride is a whole different experience. There are no crickets over there. You would see them just everywhere. When I turn my head, it's just crickets of all sizes. Like, I'm sure I'm running them over. The flex on this is something to be appreciated, which is again why I think 4.3s, 4.4s, 4.2s. We're gonna scatter some crickets. Oh, that's a view you don't often get to see. Yeah. How much did we clear out? Oh yeah, cleared it. No more crickos. I could just come out here at night and just chase crickets. The Baja Claws, man, they are so good. They're so good enough that they would make me want to try to find an insert to make them actually work. Also, depending on the composition of your constitution, I don't know if what we're doing right now is for everyone. let me illuminate. No pun intended. Nobody's afraid of the dark. They're afraid of the unknown. I kind of don't think anybody's afraid of death. They're just afraid of the unknown because they don't know what's going to happen. It's nighttime. I'm tired. We're going to get philosophical. But when you've got 264 watts of fury out here, 8 bajillion crickets, a raccoon that leaves human-sized footprints on the ground every morning. I thought we had a skinwalker or something back here, honestly. The 264 lights spread over 14,000 square feet. What that makes happen is where the lights cast there, and then beyond that is blackness. It is just pure, unbroken blackness. So when I turn around and look over my shoulder, if there's not a light there, it's just black. It's just a black hole. And the night is filled with noises. So I'm not an afraid of the dark guy, but I'm glad you're here to keep me company, because I'm as irrational as the next person, if not more so. Are we pleasantly surprised? Are we pleasantly surprised by the 264 watts of nighttime fury? Are we pleasantly surprised by the skid forward operation here of the couvert? Like, if I could see what was getting hung up there, I could maybe not do it. I got that one. Yeah, if you're going to get one, you got to get them both. Those are just the rules. I glanced to the monitor for a second there and lost the rig completely. Just disappeared. Approach. It's got that supercharger sound. I like the look of him on these tires, wheels and tires. There is a maneuverability to him. You know, TRX4 portals aren't exactly short in the ground clearance category. Rock lights. I tell people, if you're only going to put one type of light on a vehicle, put rock lights on it, because you don't need to see light out in front of it, unless it's, you know, if we turned these off, it would be absolutely pitch black out here. If you can see where your wheels are and where your axles are, you can kind of do a lot. I realize, oh, I did not judge that. So here, in closing, on a very nearly perfect evening, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us here for this evening in the canyon. Let's see if the mic picks it up. I kind of love this sound. It's kind of supercharged. And because we have so much gear reduction, we are absolutely getting away. Rolly. Oh, we can't end upside down. Come on. We're doing all right. We're doing all right on the 21. See if we can we kind of want to, not perfect center frame. I don't think we can. There we go. There we go. Some good light off of it. Thank you so much, everybody. Look forward to seeing you here again in the canyon. Night driving under the 264 watts of fury is a challenge, but it was like 106 today, so now it's pretty nice. And the beauty of this, we don't have to use any kind of fade to black. We don't need to use any kind of transition or anything. It's all built in. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I look forward to seeing the comments during the chat and the live stream. In between now and then, please, one and all, do your very best to have a good one, everybody. We're going to fade to black. With 2 presses of the button, it goes tick.